let's look for a way to add buttons to our record by putting another. This is 1, 2, 3. This is the third columns. So we want to add the fourth columns to it so that I can add 2 buttons, delete and edit or update. Here we go. So go back to your source code. Come to this place. This is the last TD. So let's create another TD for the button we want to add. So let's just put ahref, or let me put hash here. Now after this, let's give it class btn. Let me use danger, but this will be for delete. So let's create another button for update. Let's put this update and put this one to primary. You can see, so we have the 2 buttons, but we have not programmed it, so you can see it's useless. Now here we go. Let's put something like this. Let me use under this place. I think we should use class delete item. Now, how are we going to get the ID of the item we want to delete? So I will advise you to do it like this: data ID equals to now this ID. So this is how to do it. Just type in this place plus. Quote, just a single quote to stop what you are doing from the beginning. So I will advise you to just do it like this: 1, then plus. Now your ID should be here. That's to get the ID of what you want to delete. So this is the function we want to use. Now, inside this our load function, that's where you put your code. You can see the function ends here, so we are going to put the code here. But remember, in your browser, this code should be executed first before the function I want to write will be executed or will be loaded into the DOM. So what you need to do now is to set the set timeouts. Set timeouts. Now your code will come to this place. Let me use it 1 second. Now all your code for delete and update will come to this side. So here we go. Now we have for delete, put it like this. We have delete item dot on. You can do it like on click. I want to change my method this time around. So function, we have this. So your code will come to this. How can we get ID? ID equals to days, because this is what I clicked on. So to get the ID, you are going to do it like that. So you're going to put days. So that will be days dot data open bracket ID. So to capture this, you can see the data I put data. So this dot data. Now hyphen ID. So the ID you put in the front here. So that it will come to that side. So let me show you so that you know that we have captured ID. Let's just alert it out first. You can see ID 1. This is the ID. Let me add another one. Let's put 200 here and set. Fetch. You can see it here. Even this, when I inserted, I should immediately see my record. So that means the function here, let me put it inside insert. So that function which is called load data, we should put it inside insert here. Inside this insert. So let's put it like this. Load data, so that it can load data immediately. Good. Then put new data. You can see, so I'm able to see the 3 records at the same time. Delete. Let's click on fetch record again. Delete. 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 Can see it. Good. So now another thing we advise you, when we inserted, it shows new data added. So we can even remove this. This will be very nice, so that once it's added in data 2, once it's added, you see your record immediately. You can see I see my record immediately. So it's in order by ID desk. So in descending order. Alright, now let's program. You can see delete. Now how are we going to delete? How are we going to delete? So follow this step. We have captured ID already. So now to delete is, we're going to use the same query that we have been using before, so don't let us stress ourselves. So let's look for this insert. This is a query we use here. So copy it and just put it here. You know, in this place we have insert, so this one will now be delete. Delete from, what's the name of our table? Our table is items. So delete from items where ID equals to question mark. Can you see? Now in this transaction here, we are going to put the ID, that question mark ID. So the ID we captured in this place. So I think we should put alert deleted successfully. Can put deleted successfully. Then put it deleted successfully. Now let's check it out how it works. Refresh. Deleted. Let's refresh. You can see it has gone. But it should reflect. I want it to be removed immediately, so that it will not be showing deleted. Just remove immediately. So that means we don't need this. So we are going to program this place. Now the TR, our record here, let's give it class. Now let's put ID. ID will now, let's call it del delete, and give it ID so that it will be unique. So that means we are going to reference like this. Del, that ID, the ID will pass here, and the ID is already here. So ID dot feed out slow, so that we can, let's check it out now. You can see, good. You can see. Let me refresh this thing. It's still one record. Let me click on fetch. It's still one record. So that's how to delete. Now what about update? It depends on how you want to put your record. I want to update only quantity. So when I click on this, I want it to just pop up and tell me that I should enter my new quantity. Here we go. We are still going to put your code inside this set timeout. So let's do it like this. Code for delete is this. Delete function ends here. Delete function starts here. Now after that, we are moving on to update. How can you update? Here we go. Come to this place. We have already entered update here, which is this. Delete. No. So we need to put update. Update item. So let's give it data ID. Data ID equals to. Let's give it the ID. Okay. So after this, let's move down to this function here. Now update function starts here. Now put your code like this. Update item. So it's class, so you need to put dots on click. Yeah. So that means your code will be here. I want it to be in form of prompt. It depends anyhow you want to do it. So I want my own to be in form of prompt. So var quantity, new quantity. You call it new quantity equals to prompt. Kindly enter new quantity. So that means if new quantity not equals to null. So let me firstly capture my ID. Var ID equals to this, the way we captured it that time, this dot data, open bracket ID. Now after this, you can copy the code from here. Let's use this code. and this code. So you can see the transaction starts here and ends here. So this will now be update item set, what's the name of the column we have in database, quantity equals to this, where ID equals to this. So in this, you can see we have we have two question marks, so that means we are going to have two parameters here. The first one before quantity is coming for ID. So what about the new quantity once? New quantity is here. The ID, we have already captured the ID here. So after that, the success message will be here. Now this success message, let's first do it like this. Updated. Refresh. You can see it's 24 before, so let me click here and put 200. So it's updated. Let me refresh it again. You can see 200. So that's out of it. Okay. Now, if you want it to reflect immediately, how are you going to do that? If you want it to reflect immediately, so where is the quantity as place? The quantity place is this is the quantity. DES. This place. This place is quantity. So let's give it ID. ID equals to new quantity. Like this. ID equals to new quantity. But to make it unique, we need to append ID in front. So let's append the ID like this. ID. So our ID is in front like that. So by doing this, it should now be new quantity plus ID. So this is how you now do it here. We're going to do it like this. New quantity plus the ID dot HTML. So it should update to new quantity. So this new quantity is the variable we have in this place, So let's check it out. Let me change this thing back to 500. You can see it reflects immediately. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, you can download the source code at the below in the description of my video. And if you want more source code, you can subscribe to my channel for more videos. Don't forget to subscribe again. Thanks for watching.